Hi, it's Phil from Spokes Education, and we've been doing a series of videos on going from freelance to agency. And in this last batch, we're looking at kind of opportunities, how to find them, how to take them. And today we're going to be talking about tendering. In our last video, we talked about the kind of different opportunities that will come your way. I talked about repeat business, referred business, and tendering. Didn't actually talk about another important one, which is kind of business that comes to you through marketing channels. I might leave that for another video. It's not something we do a lot of, so it's not something I particularly feel I can give much advice on. But something I feel that we have done really, really well in the past is tendering, and we've had a really good success rate, about a 40% success rate of every tender we've gone for. So 4 out of 10 we are winning, and our success rate once we get to that final presentation or that kind of interview stage or the shortlist stage, it's we've only ever lost once. So I think we've got a good track record, and hopefully, like I said, I can give you a bit of advice on how to succeed with some tender bits. So the first thing I'd say is to really treat tendering as if you would treat a job application, putting in a CV. It's a similar kind of process. I've been on the other side of that a lot. I've done a lot of kind of recruiting. I've done a lot of kind of assessing of tenders as well. And so, I kind of know what makes a good one and I know what makes a bad one. So just going to give you a few tips on what to do. First thing I would say with your tender is make it look nice. Make it look professional. There's nothing worse than getting a tender or even job application that's just a ugly Word document using Calibri, something like that, and no kind of visuals in there, just blocks of text, and it's really, really hard to read. Not formatted very well. So yeah, really make it look nice. We've got like a nicely designed, branded InDesign template that we use. We include lots of nice little kind of infographics and stuff in there. Again, like I said, it's just something that will catch the eye. And like I said, if you've got something that's really ugly looking, it'll kind of get the reviewers kind of defenses up straight away, kind of going, especially if you're kind of a design based agency. And you're trying to sell, something that is going to look nice, then you've got to make sure from the off that they see that you're capable of making things look nice, even if it's a dull tender document. So that's something we've invested a lot of time in creating a nice template. The other thing is to kind of think about the language that's in that brief that's been sent to you. Two things on that. The first thing is to, again, as we kind of recommend you do in CVs and applications, is to mirror the language that's in the tender. So we call ourselves a digital learning agency. However, if they're talking about they want some e-learning, then we'll use the phrase e-learning. Again, we don't want to kind of confuse them too much. Want to keep it nice and simple for them. And again, think about the tender they've sent over to you. How much knowledge do they already have? You'll be able to gauge quite quickly about, I've seen some tenders and think, wow, you really kind of don't have a clue what this is about. And sometimes you get sent one, wow, you really know your stuff. So again, it's really, really important to pitch your tender at the level that it's presented to you. So if you've got someone who really, is clearly kind of a beginner at this, then again, don't bamboozle them, don't send them over loads of information. Give them the kind of key information they need. Keep it nice and simple, straightforward. Again, don't use lots of technical terms and jargon. Keep it really, really simple, concise. Any kind of extra information you want to send over, perhaps even think about sending, if you do want to, if you feel like you need to send it over, send it as a separate document and kind of signpost them to sort of say, it's here if you want to find out more about this thing. There's lots more information here, rather than putting it into the main narrative of your tender. Again, you might just find you lose people and, they're like, okay, I don't really understand what you're talking about. Whereas if you get that kind of nice, clear language, talking their language, talking layman terms, and you'll find that, again, you'll appeal a lot more to them, generally speaking, not always the case. And then if you get someone who's, they're going to be a little bit more of an expert in it, it may be that they've kind of done this kind of thing before, or they've got someone, a consultant in, is another example where you might find that, they're kind of tendering Their tender document is a lot more detailed and they're asking for some more specific things. There's a good chance they've got a consultant in, or there's a good chance they've done it before. Put all that detail in, get all that kind of process, all your approach, get it all down, give them all those little bits of information, all those little nuggets they're going to be looking for. Look at what they're kind of adding into their brief, look what they're actually asking you for, respond directly to those as well. So another thing we do, yes, we have our template that kind of covers the main kind of basis of what we want to say. But what we'll do is we'll actually rejig that around. We'll change it. We never just send off a cookie cutter type proposal. We'll always tailor it to the brief. And one of the parts of that is to restructure it as well. So if they've got kind of 5 or 6 questions, direct questions they're asking, respond to those 5 or 6 questions in the order that they've asked them. Again, make their life easy. That's something we try and do. Generally speaking, we try and make people's lives easier. And something you can do is by saying, okay, question 1, you want to know about our team. Here's our team. Okay, question 2, you want to know about our process. Here's our process. And again, when they go through, they can just tick. It's much easier for them to mark and score you if you're kind of doing that. If you've kind of just mishmashed it all in and you sort of go, oh, here's this person and here's what they do as their approach, and here's another person, here's what they do, and it all kind of mishmashes in. It's really difficult for someone to mark and kind of isolate those kind of scores, and they're going to have to really go and work hard to find if you're kind of ticking their boxes. Make it really easy for them to give you that little tick, which will give you that extra score, which will get you through to the next stage. So yeah, I think that's probably, again, if you really want to think about it in a slightly different way as well, think about put yourself into the tenderer's shoes. There's probably some examples in your life that you may have wanted some information from somebody, whether that's at work or whether it's in your personal life. We recently got some quotes for some gardening work. We wanted to look at potentially getting our garden landscaped, and the difference in the information that people gave us. They'd come around, they'd look at it, and they'd kind of go, oh yeah, we can do this and the other. One of those companies literally just gave us, oh, here's a quote, and there was no information about what that included, what it didn't include, how long things were going to take. There was nothing. Whereas the other company came and said, right, they gave us little drawings, they gave us all this information. Okay, here's what you can, here's where you can save money, here's where you can do things differently. If you want to, kind of look at different options. And they gave us all that information, and it's exactly what we wanted. And, just by them just putting that extra bit of time in, they were quite a bit more expensive. But then again, all of a sudden it's like, well, as long as they're within our budget, it doesn't really matter. I'd much rather put my money knowing that I'm going to get what I want and what I'm asking for, and get that level of professional service, than save a few bob here by and end up with something that you're not really particularly happy with. So again, think of that kind of mindset when you're doing yourself. Put that bits of information in. Think about what you would want, think about what they want, and just make it really clear, really concise. Give them options. Let them know that that this isn't a finite thing. This isn't just this is this or nothing. Let them know, okay, this is what we're proposing. However, there's flexibility here, there's flexibility there. We can tweak this, we can do that. And if you put all those kind of options in there as well, again, it makes it much more appealing. We do that a lot. We put a lot of flexibility in there, without, again, getting too bamboozling, too confusing by giving them multiple options. Just that kind of little tweak. Say, look, we can do this a bit quicker if A and B. We can do this a little bit cheaper if C and D. There's those little things you can do. And just to kind of then, if they kind of go, oh, we're not really happy with the time scales on that thing, again, you've kind of give them, okay, well, we can actually do it a little bit differently, and keep that conversation open. You don't want to kind of shut things off by saying, look, this is the time frame, this is what it's going to be. There's no flexibility there. Even if you're not saying it, if you're not telling them some flexibility, they might just go, okay, well, that's what that is. That doesn't work for us. Okay, they're not for us. If you just let them know there's a bit of tweaking that can be done, again, you might just keep that kind of option open, and they might come back to you and ask that clarifying question. And then when they come back to you, start asking those clarifying questions. You're in there, because they won't bother coming back to you and asking clarifying questions if they're not interested in the first place. So I think that's probably it on tendering. We'll do perhaps another video around pricing. Something that I get asked a lot about, as well as tendering, is how do you price things? I get that asked a lot by freelancers, but I also get asked it a lot by clients as well, and they kind of want to figure out how we price things. So I'll perhaps do another video on that. So, but if you've got any questions on tendering, I'll be more than happy to discuss further. I'll be happy to share some examples of things we've done previously and give a little bit more detail about on what works. And again, always happy if you've kind of got an opportunity, I'm always happy to cast an eye over that as well for you and let you know what I would do. Obviously, if there's any conflict of interest, then perhaps not. But if there's not, then I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. Feel free, like and subscribe our YouTube channel, and you'll be updated with any new videos that come along. And I'm hoping, we'll get a couple more in on opportunities, and we'll wrap up the series and we'll do something different. But until then, thanks for listening. Speak to you again soon.